We saw big news at the box offices last weekend with Deadpool and Wolverine continue to perform and hold strongly in its number one spot, bringing its grand global total to $824 million. And to put that into perspective, this movie has now grossed more in 2 weeks than the previous Deadpool movies did in their entire theatrical run. So it's right now looking like it's a shoo-in for $1 billion. And this was something I was kind of curious would happen because I knew there was going to be a lot of spoilers and other things like that people are going to be excited to see. So I was wondering if people are going to come out and see it during its opening week and then we'd have a huge drop off in the following weeks. But that's not what's happening with this movie. This is a movie that's continuing to perform, and I think a lot of this is attributed to the good word of mouth where people are watching the movie and saying this is actually something good, you should check it out. And now more people are going to go see it, or more people are coming back to the theaters to see it because this is just what a comic book movie is supposed to be. It's supposed to be something that's respectful to the source material, but more importantly, it's just a fun movie that a lot of people enjoy, and that's why it's doing so good. But let's dive into this article from The Hollywood Reporter that's talking about what it's doing at the box office right now. Deadpool and Wolverine continue to make box office history and obliterate more records in its sophomore outing, zooming to a better than expected $97 million domestically, the 8th biggest second weekend of all time, and the 5th biggest of an MCU title, for a 10-day North American total of $395.6 million. It fell a scant 53%, a notable feat. Compare that to what we saw with the Marvels late last year, when it became the biggest box office bomb in MCU history, losing the studio hundreds of millions of dollars. People were naturally saying like, oh, this is superhero fatigue. People just aren't interested in superhero movies or comic book movies anymore. And we can see with Deadpool and Wolverine, that's not the case. People, it's not that they're not interested in superhero movies or comic book movies. They just want ones that are actually told properly and they don't feel like you're just trying to pander or push some type of political agenda with their movies. We saw that with the Marvels, and that was a colossal failure. But when you try to get away from that and do something like Deadpool and Wolverine, then it's a huge success. Overseas was just as marvelous. The Marvel Studios and Disney's tentpole earned another $110.5 million for a foreign tally of $428.5 million and $824.1 million. And that $824.1 million here is actually the global total. It doesn't really mention it here, but it did mention it in the title of it. And it's saying that it's looking like this is probably going to break the $1 billion mark in the next several days or so. It also talks about in the article how this is past some notable R-rated films like The Passion of the Christ, making more money than that, which to me seems kind of ironic considering how Deadpool in the movie was calling himself Marvel Jesus and made more money, not adjusted for inflation, mind you, of a movie about Jesus. Currently, it's a number 3 highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, just behind Oppenheimer and Joker. This is not adjusted for inflation, mind you, because there's other R-rated movies that have earned a lot, but you know, you get the picture. Still, this movie is doing pretty remarkable, all things considered. And it's kind of what I was saying at the start of the video, where I think they're starting to understand over at Marvel Studios that if you just make good movies that people like, then people are going to give you your money. I mean, it shouldn't be something that needs to be said, but apparently they need to hear. It's like, hey, don't try to browbeat the audience or anything like that. Don't try to push any message. Make a good movie. We will give you your money. Then they're like, hey, we made a bad movie and people didn't give us money, but we made a good movie and people give us money. Maybe we should do this more often. And I think we've heard rumors coming out about Marvel Studios and that they're actually starting to kind of take these lessons to heart and moving to actually fire a lot of the activists at the studio who are trying to deliberately push political agendas, because that's something that at the very least is just going to alienate large sections of the audience or even small sections of the audience. Because when you're making something like this, you shouldn't risk trying to alienate any members of the audience. I don't care whether you like them or not, because like, well, everyone's money is good here. At least any smart business person would think that. So it's like, yeah, we don't care if we disagree with them ideologically, as long as they're willing to pay us money for giving them a product that they enjoy, then that should be the end goal. Other studios, for instance, haven't really quite grasped that yet, but some studios are starting to learn that. If you want to know more about this subject right here about Marvel firing some of their activist producers, I did make a video about it, so you can check that out too on this channel. But I think Marvel eventually had to learn their lesson, because there was only so much that they can actually lose money on. And I think in their mindset that the losses were acceptable so long as they had movies performing that can kind of offset those. But we saw last year and the year before, well, the year before wasn't as bad, but they were still kind of iffy. Last year, they only had one movie that could be considered to actually be profitable for them, and that was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And even then, according to some reporting, it looking like that might have actually lost money for them too. So I think they got to the point where it's like, we just can't continue like this anymore. If we want to continue making comic book movies, we have to start making money off of them. And we saw Deadpool and Wolverine is something that is successful for them. So maybe they're going to continue down this path moving forward instead of having the studio interfere with everything and giving them notes on like, this is what you need to do from now on, or these are the type of messages that you have to put in it. Just leave it in the hands of competent writers and filmmakers who understand the characters, who understand the source material, and are going to do something that the comic book fans would like, especially if it's a beloved character like Deadpool and Wolverine, where you make something that those fans would like, and then people will show up and support it. And then if you do that, everyone is happy. But I don't know if this is going to be just a one-off thing. Hopefully these rumors are accurate and they are trying to actually go back to how things used to be. But Marvel is kind of a big ship, so it'll be several years down the road before we actually find out if this is really going forward. It does say, talking about it, that it's possible the next couple movies that they have released are already in the pipeline and there's nothing they can do about it, but maybe Fantastic Four, we'll see when that comes out, if they really have changed course or whether there will be the movies after that. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Did you see Deadpool? What did you think about it if you had? And also, if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest in entertainment news. And don't forget to click that like button and share the video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.